Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Digital Money Conference of the MNB department. I'm delighted to realize that this huge conference hall is almost full, and we try to invite well-known international experts of this topic. I guess that is one factor behind this fact. And the other is that the topic is very, very actual and very, very interesting for all of us. Daniel has just gave us some facts and some very important thoughts about cryptocurrencies. Let me talk a few words about our other topic for today, which is central bank digital currencies. A few weeks ago, in September 2017, a BIS paper was published, written by Morton Beck and Rodney Garrett, who gave a very nice taxonomy for the different definitions of money. They also noticed that basically cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, altcoins, how we know them now, are not likely to displace the current forms of fiat money. But these technologies has already demonstrated that the underlying technology, the so-called distributed ledger technology, is viable. And its viability is also shown in the business sector nowadays. We all have heard about startups, fintech companies, innovators, even some commercial banks who invested tons of money in trying to find out how to use this technology. They are aiming at finding more effective or even some new financial services to be provided. However, it's not just the private sector, but also the central banks who already have turned towards this kind of new technology. There are several examples, but before we turn to that and turn to some details, I think it's really worthwhile to tell a few words about the definitions and what kind of money we can talk about in this sense. Let me give you 4 characteristics that might be very useful to understand the different types of money, and especially electronic money. Number 1 is the issuer. Who is the issuer of the money? It might be a central bank, or it might be a private entity. The second one is the form of the money. It might be physical, or it might be electronic one. The third one is accessibility to this money, which might be unlimited or might be limited, meaning that only a group of people or institutions can get to it. And the fourth one is the technology behind it, the transferring mechanism, which might be a centralized one or a decentralized one. Now, just using that 4 different characteristics, let me give you just a few examples just to make it clear, just to move on with some examples. First of all, taking central banks into account, we already have a very well-known type of electronic money. So it's an electronic type. It is issued by the central bank. However, it is a centralized technology, and it is limited, so it's not open for the public. That would be central bank reserves held by the commercial banks at the central bank. So basically, we already use some electronic money, just it's not that usual. Now, just to give you another example, an unlimited money would be, for instance, cash or deposits at the commercial banks. Now, using that analogy, let me give you the types and the different money types for central banking. Here, again, we will have 4 different types. It seems that for today, 4 is the magic number. Number 1, the already mentioned reserves, central bank reserves. This is what I have mentioned, and I guess all of you know much about it, so I wouldn't like to tell any more details on that. The second one is something that might be new and something that might be a little bit more innovative for all of us, And that would be a retail type of deposit at the central bank, which is, retail type means that it is open for the general public. But it is still a centralized transferring mechanism based. For that, we are still or already not in the field of theory, because we already know at least one central bank, the Central Bank of Ecuador, who uses a mobile payment system which uses this kind of technology. So still, it is open for the public, but it is not a peer-to-peer one. It is not a distributed ledger-based technology what they use. It's very easy to access it. Basically, everyone can download their application, and with doing the registration form, basically they will open the account, and this account is provided by the central bank. Now, these first two types of reserves and this kind of centralized central bank money are still not the peer-to-peer types. So now I move to the third and the fourth types, which are using the distributed ledger technology and are peer-to-peer kind of central bank money. To be honest, this third and the following fourth type are not yet in practice. So we are definitely talking about the future, but still we have some experiments with that from central banking, and even know that central banks are studying and trying to understand the usage of this kind of technologies. They are definitely there for the future. The third one would be a wholesale central bank electronic money, central bank issued electronic money, which is something like reserves, but basically uses the peer-to-peer technology and using the distributed ledger technology. Now you can ask, why are we even talking about this? Because we have now the electronic system for that with the reserves. Well, the very short answer is that the programming language and the system we use nowadays with the reserves are usually very old, and we have much better technological solutions with DLT type of technology, which means that it's more effective and even cheaper. However, we have to first understand and experiment how it works, and there is one example for that I have found. It's the Bank of Canada's CAD coin, what they tried with some partners. However, it's not yet used in practice for now. And the fourth one, I guess that one is the most interesting for all of us, and that is the greatest innovation in front of central banking, I guess, is the universally accessible, so retail types electronic central bank money using a DLT technology. Now, a general usage of that type of money could end up in the demolishing of cash. So basically, I shouldn't emphasize that this is a very new kind of technology with very strong changes in the financial system. There is no real type of experiment with that. However, there are some researches all around with leading central banks. There was one type called the Fed coin. So in the Fed, basically they had studied it and tried to use how that may work. The greatest difference between, for instance, Bitcoin and such a coin issued by the central bank is not only the issuer itself, but basically how the supply is created. Because Bitcoin has a constant maximum level, and these kind of technologies by the private sphere. However, central bank money would basically do the supply the same way as we have now with the cash. So it is basically based on the demand increase and decline. I shouldn't say it's a huge challenge, and it may totally change the financial system as we know it today, and it may change our life as well. And this is something that central banks, I'm sure, will study in the most details just because of these changes coming ahead. I hope that this short taxonomy will help you to understand and follow all lectures we will have today. And I also wish you a very nice conference. Thank you very much for your attention.